This wasn't a Nintendo day, Jeff. This was a Microsoft day. In fact, this was the Microsoft day. This was the day that they have been talking up ever since they got off the meth pipe on that third-party developer fucking showcase they did that just was absolute travesty level of bad. Then PlayStation showed up, did a pretty good job, but they didn't have to do anything special because the third-party showcase that Xbox did was so terrible. And so it was a freebie. They got in, they did their job, they got out. Then it was the pressure back on Microsoft, but because the third-party showing was so weak, they had to do doubly as good on this first-party showcase, and that is what happened today, the Xbox first-party showcase. Did you see any of this, Mr. Black?
I started watching a little bit of it when I was waiting. There was like a blip going on with no pixel, and so there was a down period, and we watched like 3-4 minutes of it, but the feed was so laggy. I don't know if it was just
the most of the, depending on where you watch, was it the YouTube feed or whatever?
YouTube.
Yeah, that one was rough.
Yeah.
Not only was it like laggy, but it just looked like ass. And so, oddly, Twitch's feed was better. Usually Twitch's one is the one that's a little rough, and the YouTube one is better, but this time around was not the case. I think it was two different people running those feeds, though, which is probably the reasoning behind it. But so what 3-4 minute section did you see? What was the part you saw?
It was basically just them. It was like Master Chief shooting dudes and like just Halo.
So you did see the Halo gameplay part of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's good. Because that's obviously the biggest, that's the elephant in the room, if you will, was, like we talked about it before, we both agreed the first party showcase needed to be big, but the thing, the linchpin, the keystone was Halo Infinite. And not just for the event, but for the Halo franchise. The franchise is basically dead.
Yep.
And it needed, Infinite's first real showing needed to blow people away, which is an unfortunate task because they're doing most of this work now from home because of the fucking Space Godzilla problem. And so getting this all put together is probably a hellish nightmare.
Yeah.
And so I will preface what I will mostly be saying about this. I don't know what your take will be after what you saw. I will preface it by saying that I can only hold so much of this against the developer, obviously.
Yeah.
There's only so much that you can do in these circumstances. It's obvious that the coronavirus hit during a part of development that was, they needed in-house development time, and at home was going to be way more difficult. I have to believe that that's the case because because this was so bad, Jeff, that I have to put the blame on the coronavirus situation to feel good about 343 as a studio that should continue making Halo games. Because it was really bad. But before I go, before I go in too deep, how is your take on what you saw in your so you saw about half of the total show.
Okay, so there wasn't like an insane amount.
It was an 8 minute plus
I saw
a little bit of a trailer.
I probably saw a little less than half.
Okay.
Honestly.
Okay.
I mean, I'd have to watch the whole thing in order to kind of give a.
Well, just from what you saw, so like whatever.
Well, I mean, from what I saw is different than what you're saying. So we
just might have interpreted it differently. Obviously, I mean, if you want to look at those links, you'll see like some screenshots. And stuff like that. And then there's a 1 minute trailer there that's a little shorter that showed off the sword. And something else as well that I thought was weird they didn't put in the main showcase. That's also there. But I mean, okay. So yeah, so from I get
so I just watched that little minute trailer.
And the trailer looks a lot better than what we saw at the event.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I didn't hate it.
Okay.
Um,
That's good. That's good for them.
the when I was watching it on stream and as I'm watching this minute clip, I actually think it's a giant step in the right direction.
Okay.
At face value.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is it looks and feels like old Halo. From what I saw. Now I have to watch that full 8 minutes and I might have a completely different take because like I said, I saw a few minutes of it and it was laggy and it was like the stream feed was bad, but from what I was seeing, that was the first time you seen a grappling hook.
You want to watch this fucking shit? I'll set it up. We can watch it. We don't have a lot of news this week, or do you want to watch it later?
I mean,
it's up to you.
We don't. I don't. For all the listeners that are just going to listen to noise and stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think I'm pretty much going to say the same thing. Whether I watch,
I don't think your opinion is going to change all that much. If you saw at least half of it, it's not going to change much.
Yeah. The whole grappling hook thing. I'm not a big fan of Master Chief getting these new things. I just think it just feels cheap when they do stuff like that. But I'm just going to let that go. And from what I saw from just like the shooting, the bad dudes, the aliens, just the overall feel, seeing the frag grenade, like, you know, catch somebody midair, different looking monsters or whatever. It kind of, what the trailer did is it brought me back to old Halo. And yeah, the graphics aren't, it's not what I expected. I thought that the graphics were going to be better. Not saying that they're bad, but I thought that they were going to feel more modern, like more up to date. Not saying that they weren't, but it really
I am
felt
saying
like
they weren't. I mean, they're like, if you go back and you watch the 8 minutes, there's a part where they go to the map and then they jump out of the map, and it's almost 2 full seconds of watching the game load in the entire environment in real time.
Yeah.
And even when it's fully done loading in, it still doesn't look good.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, continue.
So, yeah, I was expecting more graphically, but at the same time, because I want old Halo so bad, and I know that I can enjoy Halo without these crazy graphics and these, you know, crazy new abilities and stuff, it almost adds to the game. It almost makes the game feel more authentic. And in a weird way, I know it's not what they're going for. I know that they don't want to have their game load in for 2 full seconds and have things look like paper and things like that. I totally get that. But in a weird, fucked up way, it almost puts me even more into the old school Halo, which is making me a little bit more intrigued into the game, because ultimately, I think I can speak for a lot of Halo fans. They just want to go back to old Halo 2, Halo 3-ish era and re-experience the old Halo the way it was and not all this new stuff. And from the few minutes I watched, I got that immediately. Like, it wasn't even like, holy shit, that reminded me of old Halo.
Well, it was hard not to, because they literally started this entire demo out. I don't think you've seen the beginning, but the starting of this whole level is almost an exact replica of the second level of the original Halo. Your pod goes down, you step out of the fucking pod, you're in a big green world seeing the ring for the first time, Covenant there pretty much right off the rip.
Yeah.
That, like, it's, you look up, there's a banshee-ish thing that flies overhead, birds flying. Like, if I want to see somebody do the first level of or the second level of Halo and this trailer next to each other, because like the first 45 seconds to a minute is almost a 1-to-1 fucking copy of that. And I think that's intentional, obviously. They're looking for the nostalgia hook.
Yeah. And they hooked me. I when I say they hooked me, I don't mean as in like, oh man. Hook. Yeah, no. I don't mean that either. I'm not like, oh my God, I'm sold, man. I'm gonna fucking run out and buy me an Xbox and get me get me some Halo Infinite. It's a big no for me, dog. But at least they've got my attention. And yeah, I know I'm seeing some of these photos, these links that you sent me, and yeah, some of it's a bit embarrassing. But I mean, ultimately, Halo as a franchise is a bit of an embarrassment, and everything that they've been doing is a bit of an embarrassment. And I can let go of these stills and all these, grappling hooks and weird things as long as it feels like old Halo, and I can play some multiplayer for a few hours and enjoy myself. That's all I want. And a good campaign. I mean, campaign is a must. And it looks like they might succeed in that from what I'm seeing. That's where I'm at. I didn't hate it. And trust me, dude, I want to like shit down the throat of Halo. I do. But I'm not just going to hate on him to hate on him. I didn't hate what I saw.
So what are your, before I say my piece, what are your views on, I don't know if you saw the Twitter link there, where it was 343 expanding a bit on what Halo Infinite is, whereby they say 343 views Infinite as a platform that grows over time. Infinite is the last standalone release for the foreseeable future. New story content will be for Infinite, and then the ray tracing is coming after launch. That's multiple bullet points to say that they're turning Halo into Destiny. Is, for all intents and purposes, what that means. They're turning Halo Infinite into a game as a service. They're releasing everything under the Infinite name for the foreseeable future. And when they say foreseeable future, that means you're a minimum of 5 years or more.
Infinitely so.
Infinitely so. Everything under the Infinite brand. That's the show. It's an open world game. It is not a level by level basis. I don't know if you caught that.
I didn't know that.
It is an open world game. If you watch the 8 minutes, you'll see the map pulled up. It is fully open. You drive around. That is also likely part of the reason why it looks like dog shit, is because the moment you do an open world game, there's a lot more going on. It's a lot more demanding. Now, I will say this. There's no reason for the Series X game flagship Halo title, even in an open world environment, to look like a 2004 game, because that's what it looks like. It looks like a 2004 game up-res. One of those links that I put in here is literally the Halo 2 Anniversary Edition over top of, I believe that's what I have. Yeah, it's the second link. On top is the Halo 2 Anniversary Edition. On the bottom is Halo Infinite.
It's
and
crazy.
I want you to tell me that even in an open world game, the flagship title from the flagship intellectual property on the brand new ultra next generation console is going to look like that. And you look at some of the other screenshots and stuff of the feed, we're talking about textures that aren't completed. We're talking about shadow mapping that isn't done. We're talking about LODs where the trees look like super low res, like you're playing a game on low settings because your computer can't handle render distance. We're talking about the Master Chief's own arms being low res, low texture quality. The grappling hook look like it's clipping through his fucking arm as he's reloading guns and shit. It is. And that's why I prefaced all this with the whole, the Space Godzilla thing, because what you have to understand, I guess, as well, and what you have to go into this with is that not only are they fighting this thing and building this thing from home, but they are also under the pressure of getting this ready for the launch for the console. They don't have the leeway, it seems, to push this back if they need more time. They just only have as much time as they're given, and that's the show. That's why you see them talking about ray tracing coming in a patch after the launch. They're not even getting features that other games are going to be enjoying. So, you know what Infinite strikes me as? It strikes me as a game that internally somebody pressed the reset button at some point. Like a complete fucking reset. I don't believe for a second that this game as we're seeing it today has been in development for the entire time we've understood Halo Infinite having been in development. I refuse to believe it. We would have seen a lot more gameplay and a lot more shit a lot sooner if that was the case. The fact that we're 4 months out, this is what we're getting as a trailer, as the flagship run in the first party thing for the Xbox Series X, and it didn't include any multiplayer. And then afterwards, when Jeff Keighley questioned them about that, and they were like, hey, why wasn't there any multiplayer shown? It's like, oh, we're going to wait and show it at the right time, which is code word for It looks and plays like ass. It's not balanced. We can't show it. And oops, we still only have 4 months, which means we have 2 months before this bitch goes gold. And then it's a massive day one patch that we hope to have done in time for the launch of this fucking console and game. So this is a game that probably needed another full year of fucking work as a start. Now they're going to get away with it a bit because it's a game as a service and they're going to upgrade it over the life of the fucking game.
Yeah.
But there is this is not what, regardless of the circumstances in which this was brought to everyone's attention today, this game's gonna get fucking burned to the ground online for at least the next two fucking weeks. This game is not.
Clips there.
Yeah, this is not what they needed for Halo or Xbox Series X. When Sony comes out with their shit and shows their first party stuff, you know what it looks like? Pure unadulterated sex, because they put everything into making their first party flagship titles look incredible.
Yeah.
This looks like shit. From a gameplay perspective, I still don't even get that much OG Halo out of it. For me. I don't even get that much out of it. The most I got out of it when I was watching it live, I said, this is literally a recreation of the second level of the original Halo. Other than that, there was nothing. There wasn't even music for like the first 2 minutes. It was just like watching dead alpha gameplay of a dude walking around and doing the campy shit that I hate about gameplay trailers that I know now means the game isn't completed in any major way, where they're like slowly walking and then like, oh look, the birds are flying by. Let me put my reticle on them and follow the birds flapping in the fucking breeze as they go on by. And oh look, there's that Covenant ship flying overhead. I guess I'll look at that real quick and now go for a little saunter over to the Warthog and we'll take a look at the map. And the map now just looks like a fucking Ubisoft game. And then you get out of the map and you watch the game load itself back in frame by frame and it looks like a pile of ass. And then you drive a little bit and then it's time for combat. And we're on easy mode so we can do things like grapple hook a fucking elite while he's shooting you and slowly pull yourself to the elite. Which, physics-wise, I know this is a video game, but the Master Chief weighs like a fucking ton. And we got a grapple hook on a fucking elite, who I do not think weighs a ton, and we're pulling towards the elite, and not the elite pulling towards us, only to get in close enough to throw a grenade sticky on him and then run away from him because, oops, I just grapple hooked my ass into an elite and threw a grenade on and now I gotta run away. Then we see the one shining beacon of something I was interested in this entire game, Jeff. You know what it was? Limb damage. The brute is running down the ramp. He shoots the brute in the leg enough times he stumbles and slows down. I was like, fucking yes. Awesome. That's an evolution of Halo gameplay. There's always been armor-heavy related shit, whether it's overshields and stuff. That's a proper evolution of Halo gameplay. I was excited. Shot the helmet off the brute and stuff. That was great. I'm on board. That's fantastic stuff. That was the only positive I pulled out of that entire experience. He pulled that grapple hook up to pull himself up to the next level. I was checked the fuck out. Like, what? The only reason that grappling hook exists is because they've gone full open world and they didn't want to give people other ways to get around the environment. And so what do? Slap
about your little jetpack. Like, didn't they have these stupid fucking jetpacks before? Like,
I'd rather the jetpack than the grappling hook.
Yeah, me
But
too.
then they were like, grappling hook, we can do like, I bet you're gonna be grappling like shields off of fucking enemies or grappling like armor parts off of enemies or some shit. Or like we saw him like grapple hook an explosive barrel and then one arm, this gives you an idea how heavy this motherfucker is. He gets an explosive barrel with a grappling hook and one arm fucking Tom Brady yeets the thing like fucking 90 feet away to blow up some shit on a turret. Dude, it looked bad. It looked fucking bad and it's not what they needed for Halo and it's sure as shit not what they needed for the Series X. You know, props for them for showing gameplay with the game in this state, to be completely fucking honest with you, because this game
didn't have a choice.
They didn't have a choice.
They don't have a choice. I mean, you gotta do it. I'm not gonna argue with anything you said, man, because everything you said made sense. Like, I'm with you. I still don't hate it. I still don't hate the look as much as you did, but you know, when you kind of put it into terms like that, I see exactly where you're coming from. And I didn't know that it was an open world game. I
Yeah.
didn't know that they were planning to pour all this stuff into this. You know,
And from an art perspective, if I just look at it from an art perspective, the thing that hit me the hardest was that if you go back and you look, and in probably one of those links anyway, where you're seeing like the grouping of them, maybe is that the first link? No, the first link is just the fucking that face. Oh my god. Anyway, there's another link I don't think I have here. But it looks like the enemies were taken from one game and the environment was taken from another game.
Yeah.
And they put them in the same game together.
Yeah.
They look like they stand out in an unpleasing way. It's not in the type of way that you like to see where when you're playing a game, it's nice to have really realistic graphics and stuff, but as a player, you still want to be able to discern your enemy from the environment around you to a certain degree. You know, you don't, it's like having a perfect, you know, nighttime with no light like whatsoever. People think they want that until they're given it and they're like, fuck. From a gameplay perspective, it's terrible. But from this, it looks like two different games, models and environment brought together, and they don't mesh like whatsoever. I think that there's still some promise for the game. I don't think this is 343's best work. I understand that it's largely because of the coronavirus situation for them working from home. I also still believe that this game at some point had the button reset. Like I think this game strikes me like they were 2 years deep and somebody came in and nuked it and they had to start over again.
They might have nuked it the moment all this collector's shit went to fucking tits up. You know, either that or someone just said, "Hey, this is starting to feel too much like everything else we put out and everything else just didn't work. Let's go the Destiny route." The problem is Destiny is actually in a good spot now after years and years of ups and downs. And Destiny just looks, pardon the pun, infinitely better.
Which is bad because I was talking about earlier, is like Destiny is actually still not that good of a game.
It's not that good of a game.
But it's better than this.
It just looks infinitely better. I don't know. Maybe it's a gamble that'll pay off for them. I think it's a smart decision making one game that you can just update and kind of go along. I mean, you look at something like No Man's Sky. You know, look how well they're doing. And yeah, this game might come out and it might be enough to get people excited, but then they're like, you know what? I'm going to hold off until it gets these things. And they might start updating this to get it to a point where if they listen to the community, they keep putting in the work, they might actually get this to a place in 2-3 years where it's really something to celebrate. From what I'm seeing right now, this looks like a valiant effort to make Halo look like old Halo. But as you've explained as to why it doesn't do it for you, I'm kind of, you're changing my opinion a little bit. And it's starting, and I just watched more gameplay footage while you were talking. It's starting to look more not like Halo as I'm starting to watch more of it. I think it was just, honestly, I think what it was is how bad the graphics were, is what was putting. And I don't even mean that joke.
Well, I mean, no, that's it. Yeah.
I actually think, and then now that you have those stills beside each other, I really believe that's what it is. It's like the graphics are so poor, and I didn't realize it was open world, and that's exactly why it's poor. It's open world, and you're going to have a ton of people in an area. You're going to have big open worlds, and you know there's going to be long draw distance, and you're going to be loading shit in, and levels or areas are going to be loading in like a game of Minecraft. And you know it might look better on a PC down the road when you can, you know, fuck around with settings and shit. But as of right now, it just.
So the last thing I'll say on it, I guess, is that. So for me, the other thing that stood out to me was how awkwardly slow everything felt. Even for a Halo game, it felt molassesy.
And I don't mind that for a Halo game because I am tired of the hyper fucking.
Yeah, I don't need to be like. I don't mean I need to be the Flash. Yeah. But it felt slow. It felt slow in an awkward way. Is I guess the best way I could put it. Like, but not just the movement. Everything. Like when I went back and I watched it again, the first time I watched it, I think I said out loud when I was live streaming, and I said, "Guys, am I crazy, or do even the explosions look slow?" Like everything just felt like it was moving through fucking quicksand. Visually, like the particle effects and everything, it just kind of looked slow and sluggish. I guess the. Other than the limb damage that it appears to have, which I think is phenomenal, and I think it would probably be something that I wouldn't have even thought if like somebody asked me what's the next evolution of Halo combat. It's Halo combat for me in the single player has always been fantastic artificial intelligence that isn't necessarily super smart, but they fake it really well. They always find a way to get to you. And surprise you. You could play the game a million times. It never feels the same every time you play it. That's a cornerstone of Halo, single player campaign. And the pacing, obviously, it is slower. That's why I don't necessarily mind it, but it felt awkwardly sluggish, not necessarily the Halo slow that I'm used to. Having limb damage makes perfect fucking sense. And it's not something I would have thought about. And I'm happy they have something like that in there, for sure. I think before I really check the fuck out of this, right now, as this game is, if this launched, I don't think it's selling pretty much any consoles. It's going to sell a few because it's Halo. And that's about the only reason. It won't be for any other reason.
Yeah.
Before I really double down on that statement, I need to see multiplayer, and I'm shocked that we didn't see any today, but that's also alarming to me because we're within 6 to 8 weeks of this thing going gold. Yeah. Maybe 9 weeks if they stretch it. So, whenever they plan on showing multiplayer, I think that's what a lot of people are waiting for now, and that will be the real tell as to just what kind of shit show we're getting ourselves into with Halo. But for me, as of today, right now, watching that and seeing the grappling hook and all that nonsense, especially since they made a big deal of it, like if you watch from the beginning, they have a cutscene of the girl like at her computer making the thing, and you're seeing the grappling hook like be formed onto his arm. That tells me they're really invested in that, and it's not just like we're gonna grapple our way around for fun in the world. They're focusing on that being a mechanic like hardcore. So I saw that, and I said to chat, I said, get out the fucking coffin dancing meme, because Halo's dead. This isn't Halo anymore. This is 343 desperately clamoring to find a new market that isn't the old Halo market, that wants something more like a Destiny, painted Halo, and hope that they can monetize it long term. This isn't 343's best work, but if I have to be honest, after what I've seen from them in the past as well, and how they've handled this, I don't think 343 is the studio to be handling Halo anymore, period. And hopefully they prove me wrong, because I don't want to see one of my favorite franchises up and fucking die.
Oh, it's gone.
But it's seeming like it's super fucking dead right now, for sure.
It's gone.